All right, let's get real for a second. How many of you have ever dealt with someone sending mixed signals? One minute he's all in, the next he's pulling away. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and it makes you question everything. But here's what you need to know. Mixed signals don't always mean he's not interested. Sometimes they mean he's falling harder than he expected. The question is, are you reading the signs right? Today, I'm going to show you how to stop second guessing and start recognizing the truth behind his actions. Because when you understand this, you take back your power. Let's go. Clarity amid confusion is one of the most powerful tools you can have when navigating a man's mixed signals. Many people assume that inconsistency means disinterest, but that's not always the case. In fact, when a man is falling for you, his signals can become even more confusing, not because he's playing games, but because he's experiencing emotional conflict. Understanding this distinction is the first step to reclaiming your power in the situation. Men, like women, go through a range of emotions when they start catching real feelings. However, societal conditioning and personal experiences often shape how they process these emotions. A man who is developing a deep emotional connection might not even recognize it at first, and if he does, he may not know how to handle it. This internal struggle is what creates those frustrating mixed signals. The push and pull, the hot and cold behavior, the moments of intense connection followed by sudden withdrawal. Here's the key. Instead of looking at his inconsistency as a sign that he doesn't care, start seeing it as a reflection of his own emotional process. When a man isn't interested, his actions will show it consistently. He won't make an effort, he won't come back, and he won't try to deepen the connection. But when a man is falling for you, he will show up in meaningful ways, even if he seems unsure at times. His confusion isn't about you, it's about him trying to navigate emotions that feel bigger than he expected. One of the biggest reasons men send mixed signals is fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of commitment, or even fear of losing control over their emotions. When a man starts developing deep feelings, it often shakes up his world. If he's been used to casual relationships or if he's been hurt in the past, these new emotions can feel overwhelming. His logical mind may tell him to slow down, to keep his distance, or to regain control, while his heart is pulling him toward you. That's why you'll see him engaging deeply one moment and pulling away the next. But here's what separates a man who is truly interested from one who is just playing games. He keeps coming back. When someone is genuinely falling for you, even if they try to fight it, they can't stay away. They will find reasons to check in, to reconnect, to continue building the bond. They might not always be consistent in their emotional expression, but their presence in your life will be undeniable. This is where clarity becomes your superpower. Instead of reacting emotionally to his push and pull behavior, start observing. Look at the patterns. Is he pulling away but always returning with more depth? Is he hesitant at times but still showing signs of emotional investment? If so, it's not a lack of interest, it's emotional conflict. He's trying to figure out if he can trust these feelings, if he's ready for something deeper, or if he's willing to risk the vulnerability that comes with truly caring for someone. Understanding this dynamic puts you back in control. Instead of waiting for clarity from him, you create it for yourself. When you recognize that his mixed signals stem from his internal struggle rather than from a lack of feelings, you stop doubting your own worth. You realize that his behavior is about his journey, not about whether you're enough. This shift in mindset is crucial because it prevents you from falling into the trap of overanalyzing, chasing, or trying to fix the situation. The biggest mistake you can make when dealing with a man's mixed signals is trying to force clarity before he's ready to give it. If you push him for answers when he's still working through his emotions, he might shut down even more. Instead, the best thing you can do is maintain your own sense of confidence and self-worth. When you know your value, you don't need to chase certainty. You let it unfold naturally. And here's the most powerful part. When a man sees that you're not waiting around for him to figure things out, it often accelerates his clarity. When he realizes that you're not dependent on his emotional stability to feel secure in yourself, it shifts the dynamic. He starts to see that if he doesn't step up, he might lose you. And that is often the moment when his mixed signals turn into undeniable actions. So if you're dealing with a man who is sending mixed signals but still showing signs of emotional investment, don't rush to conclusions. Instead, take a step back, observe his actions, and focus on maintaining your own confidence. Clarity isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. And when you operate from a place of strength, the right man will always rise to meet you. Emotional investment is the true indicator of where a man's heart lies. Words can be misleading, actions can be inconsistent, but emotional depth never lies. When a man starts developing genuine feelings, you'll notice a shift in the way he interacts with you. He may not always verbalize how he feels, and in some cases he might even try to suppress it. But the evidence will be there if you know where to look. One of the most telling signs of emotional investment is his presence in your life beyond surface-level interactions. A man who is falling for you will naturally become more involved in your world, even if he's struggling with his emotions. He'll ask about your day, remember small details, and make an effort to check in, even when he doesn't have to. These moments might seem insignificant on the surface, but they reveal something powerful. His heart is engaged. Another key indicator is how he reacts to your emotions. When a man is emotionally invested, your happiness matters to him, and so does your pain. If you're going through something difficult, does he step up? Does he listen, offer support, or try to make things easier for you? If so, that's not just kindness, it's connection. A man who is emotionally invested cannot ignore your struggles. Even if he's not always the best at expressing it, he will want to be there for you in meaningful ways. At the same time, emotional investment doesn't always look like grand gestures or constant attention. Sometimes, it shows up in the moments when he feels comfortable being himself around you. If he starts opening up about his fears, dreams, or past experiences, it's a major sign that he trusts you on a deeper level. Many men are conditioned to guard their emotions. So when he lets you see parts of himself that he doesn't show to others, it's not random, it's intentional, even if he doesn't fully realize it yet. But here's where the confusion often sets in. Emotional investment doesn't always translate to immediate commitment. A man can deeply care about you and still struggle with the idea of being all in. This is where his mixed signals come into play. One moment, he's engaging in deep conversations, opening up, and making you feel like you're the only person in the world. The next, he seems distant, distracted, or unsure. This isn't because his feelings have disappeared. It's because his emotions are stronger than he expected, and he's trying to process them. The key to understanding emotional investment is looking at the consistency of his presence, not just the intensity of his actions. A man who is falling for you might not always express it in obvious ways, but he will keep showing up. He won't disappear for long periods without reason, he won't treat you as an afterthought, and he won't be able to ignore the connection. Even if he pulls away temporarily, he will always find a way back to you. This is why focusing on actions over words is so important. Words can be spoken out of habit, obligation, or even confusion, but actions come from a deeper place. When a man is emotionally invested, his actions will reflect it, even if he's not fully ready to admit it. He might offer small but meaningful gestures, like remembering your favorite drink, checking in when you least expect it, or standing up for you in situations where it matters. These are the things that reveal his true emotions, even when his words don't. But here's where your power comes in. You don't have to decipher everything. You don't need to overanalyze every moment, every interaction, every fluctuation in his behavior. Instead, trust what you see consistently. Does he make an effort to be in your life? Does he show signs of care even when he's not being outwardly affectionate? Does he keep coming back even after moments of distance? If the answer is yes, then his emotional investment is real. And that's what you need to focus on. Not the confusion of his mixed signals, but the foundation of his actions over time. When you stop seeking clarity from his words and start recognizing the patterns in his behavior, everything becomes clearer. You shift from wondering where you stand to knowing your worth. And when you do that, you create a dynamic where he either steps up fully or steps aside. Because a man who is truly invested won't risk losing a woman who stands in her confidence. Actions will always reveal the truth, even when words create confusion. A man can say one thing and do another, but his consistent patterns of behavior will expose his real feelings. When emotions are involved, words often become a defense mechanism, something he uses to protect himself from vulnerability. He might tell you he's not looking for anything serious, but then he's always there when you need him. He might say he's unsure about his feelings, but then he remembers little details about you, checks in unexpectedly, and finds ways to stay in your life. This is where most people get stuck. They listen to the words instead of watching the actions. They hold on to what was said rather than what is repeatedly shown. But here's the reality. Words are easy to manipulate, but actions require effort. If a man's actions show care, attention, and emotional depth, then those are his real feelings, even if his words haven't caught up yet. The inconsistency you're experiencing isn't a lack of interest. It's a battle between his emotions and his ability to express them. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that mixed signals mean a lack of clarity on his part. In reality, his heart knows exactly what it feels, but his mind might be trying to control the situation. If he's been hurt before, if he's afraid of commitment, or if he's struggling with his own emotional readiness, he may try to downplay or deny what's happening between you. But despite all of that, his true emotions will always slip through in his behavior. He won't be able to help it. You'll notice it in the way he reacts to you. When you're around other men, does he get noticeably different, even if he tries to hide it? When you're upset, does he instinctively want to make things better? When you pull back, does he feel the need to reach out and close the distance? These aren't things a man does for someone he has no feelings for. His actions are showing you that there's something real happening inside of him, even if he's struggling to verbalize it. But here's where your power comes in. You don't have to figure it out for him. It's not your job to make sense of his emotions, fix his fears, or get him to admit what he's feeling before he's ready. Your job is to observe, to stand in your own confidence, and to trust what you see rather than what you're told. If his actions are telling you that he's invested, then give him space to work through his emotions. If his actions are inconsistent in a way that feels draining or uncertain, then step back and focus on yourself. This is the key difference between reacting to mixed signals and using them as insight. When you react emotionally, when you try to get answers, demand clarity, or chase certainty, you put yourself in a position of waiting. But when you step back and simply observe, you take back control. You stop playing the guessing game and start making decisions based on patterns rather than fleeting words. A man's true feelings will always be revealed over time. If he's falling for you, his actions will reflect care, effort, and a need to stay connected to you. If he's not serious, his inconsistency will become more pronounced and his words will start to feel empty. The more you trust what you see rather than what you hear, the more clarity you'll have. And that's where the power shifts, from seeking answers to recognizing the truth that's already in front of you. Stepping into your power means recognizing that you are the one who controls how you respond to a man's mixed signals. Too often, when someone is emotionally invested but sending confusing messages, it creates a cycle of over-analysis, self-doubt, and waiting. You start asking yourself, what does this mean? Why is he acting this way? Should I do something differently? But here's the truth. The moment you start looking for clarity outside of yourself, you give away your power. Instead of waiting for him to figure out what he wants, you must decide what you want. When a man sends mixed signals, it's usually because he's feeling something he wasn't expecting. Maybe he was planning to keep things casual, but now his emotions are pulling him deeper. Maybe he's afraid of getting hurt, so he keeps a safe distance. Or maybe he's unsure about what he's ready for, but he can't bring himself to walk away. The key thing to understand is that his confusion does not need to become your confusion. Just because he's uncertain doesn't mean you have to be. Just because he's struggling with his emotions doesn't mean you need to put your life on hold while he figures it out. The most powerful shift you can make is to stop reacting and start observing. When you step into your power, you stop looking at mixed signals as something you need to decode and start seeing them as information. His actions tell you where he is emotionally. His consistency, or lack thereof, tells you whether he is ready for the kind of connection you deserve. Instead of trying to pull him closer, you allow him to show you, through his behavior, whether he belongs in your life. And here's the thing, when you shift your mindset, everything changes. Instead of waiting for a man to give you clarity, you create your own. Instead of feeling anxious about what his signals mean, you recognize that the right man will make his intentions clear. Instead of chasing, you attract. This doesn't mean you play games or pretend you don't care. It means you align yourself with confidence, self-respect, and the belief that the right person will meet you at your level. Men are drawn to women who know their worth. When a man sees that you are not sitting around analyzing his every move, that you are living your life, valuing yourself, and maintaining your standards, it creates a natural shift in the dynamic. He realizes that if he doesn't step up, he will lose you. And that moment of realization is often what turns uncertainty into clarity. If he truly has feelings for you, he will take action. If he doesn't, he will continue sending mixed signals. Either way, you gain the clarity you need without ever having to chase it. The key is to hold your standards without fear. Too often, when a man sends mixed signals, people lower their expectations, thinking that if they just give him more time, space, or understanding, he will come around. But that's not how emotional connection works. A man doesn't commit because you wait for him. He commits because he recognizes your value and doesn't want to lose you. The right man will not leave you wondering where you stand. The right man will rise to meet you because he sees that you are someone worth showing up for. So instead of falling into the cycle of trying to decode every action, step into your power. Focus on what makes you feel strong, confident, and fulfilled. Trust that if a man is truly meant to be in your life, his actions will reflect it. And most importantly, remember this: you do not need to convince anyone to choose you. The right person will make it clear